wrestling card collectors, welcome to another episode of WTCtv. I almost screwed up my own thing because I've got Worlds Collide in my mind. I've got Card Foundation I'm representing. I got
love it.
Much appreciated.
Two-thirds of the world-renowned Card Foundation podcast. I'm telling you guys, I always say praises about your guys' show. I think it's a really well-polished show.
Thank you.
So I've got Danny and Johnny, the Wonder Twin Powers, the brothers here. Tancradi, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, that's
okay,
right.
Got it. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good. Doing good. A lot of wrestling on TV the past couple of weeks. A lot of eBay buying, card buying,
card news. Yeah,
Prism news,
a lot going on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Today, as we're recording today, they announced that. So now you'll have a timestamp of when we recorded this. Panini presented their mock-ups, I guess, of their their new set. Looks pretty smashing, guys, right?
I'm digging it. I love it.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm excited.
Hell, let's just jump right into that. Let's just jump right into that.
Sure.
I mean, what do you guys think? What are you expecting? How do you think the market's going to react to this, to Panini's new Prism set coming out?
You want to kick this off, Johnny?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is going to be huge. This is something that the hobby hasn't seen, I don't think, in a long time. Well, in terms of wrestling, I think the Prism name, obviously, if you're a collector of cards other than wrestling, you know how the Prism name, they have a name within the hobby that carries itself.
I call them the Prism Boys. But I call them Prism Boys.
There are definitely Prism Boys out there.
Yep.
And there are certainly people that just they see the name Prism, they buy it no matter what. Maybe not NASCAR as much, but anything else, they're diving right into it. And I think we're going to have that same thing here. I think that eventually we'll kind of figure out who the hobby darling is going to be, in this year's set. Could be Braun Breaker. We saw that first Braun Breaker.
That's like, I gravitated to that immediately. Like I'm not even collecting anything other, but I think I might go after Braun Breaker stuff. Might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be huge. The first set, we know historically how first sets have done, in terms of popularity and, growth monetarily. I just think it's going to be massive.
What about you, Danny?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be, I was thinking about it today. This might be the biggest wrestling card release in history, period. Even when
you think bigger than AEW, because AEW brought in a lot of eyeballs on our product.
It did. And I just think the WWE name carries so much weight. And then you add that with Panini and Prism carrying so much weight. I think you're going to get all walks of life coming into the hobby to collect wrestling cards because of this release.
So you think it's going to drastically change the market then?
Yes.
I mean, we're already seeing people adapting already. Like Roman Reigns has been on fire. So I mean, his stuff. I can't wait to do like the next recap with Paul for the month of March, because his stuff's been on fire, and it's just you think it's going to carry over to the new product? I would imagine so, right?
Yeah.
I see it as when we get the initial Upper Deck AEW release, boxes are coming out for $100, and then they take off to 200, 225, 250, to where it kind of stuck. With Prism, I think there's no boundary as to where this could go. I mean, we saw the suggested retail price was $150. I think it's going to be double that at least, and if it sells out right away, what's a company like, Steel City or David Adams, where are they going to take that to after that initial sellout?
So if a suggested retail is $150, you can only then imagine what a distributor is actually paying for that product out the gate from a pre-sale standpoint.
Yeah.
Because I said, I went to my local card shop and I told them today, I said, this is suggested retail. If you get below that and can sell it to me for that, I will take multiple cases from you right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So he immediately went into his suppliers like that, which could be Steel City for all I know.
Right.
And he's going to put an order. He said, so far as he knows, he hasn't been given any solicitation on it yet as far as what his price is going to be as of this afternoon. So that's today. I have no idea, but I'm excited about it. I'm going to be a hell of a checklist for me to put together though for WTC. That's for sure.
You're going to have your hands full with those parallels. Yeah.
Because the boxes say what? Up to 20 parallels per box.
Yep. And Panini has turned into a multitude of parallels that you're going to get. We're going to get, zebra parallels. We're getting the typical colors. We're getting numbered. It's going to be a lot.
I'm not familiar with Panini products in the past. I know the name, I know the products like that, but I've never opened anything Panini wise. So it would be a first time opening a Prism box.
Wow.
I've never opened anything. Because I don't collect anything else really. I don't collect.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to do sports like that, I don't collect that kind of stuff. So,
right.
I'm mostly wrestling, and I do a lot of non-sport stuff too. So kind of dipping my toes back into more non-sport stuff these days. My hobby in wrestling is collecting information.
Right.
Interesting.
That's my hobby. So trying to get WTC as up to date and accurate as possible. It's like that. So let's just go rewind it back.
Yeah, we got a little excited there. We jumped the gun to get to Prism right
well,
away.
because it's fun. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's all over social media. People posting the boxes,
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
all
cards,
day.
and looking at that Roman Reigns autograph and that dual signature card and that what do they call that card with Becky Lynch they had on? What's that card called? That's
the Color Blast.
Color Blast, like that. I showed it to my wife, and she's like a Becky Lynch fan who's never watched a wrestling in her life, but just like a wrestling. she got into the Top Slam at because she's like, well, honey, you're into wrestling, and I'm going to be. I guess I'll check it out too and play the game. And she got into it, and next thing you know, she's like, I'm a Becky Lynch fan and never even watched it before.
There you go.
So I said, well, honey, that's the one person you don't want to be collecting right now. We can't afford that.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Let's go back like Card Foundation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Prior to Card Foundation, you guys did another podcast for baseball.
Yeah.
When did that start? Did it end? Are you still doing it? What's happening with that?
Yeah, so that was kind of like the brainchild of Johnny. Johnny wanted to really get into podcasting because we figured we would talk about, baseball and wrestling and really just sports in general weekly just between us. So we said, why don't we just take our conversations and throw it on air, and see if something sticks. Maybe there's people out there that, share the same mentality as us in terms of either collecting or the sport itself. So baseball has always been like our first true love ever since we were kids, going to hobby shops and collecting baseball cards and watching Mets games with our father and our younger brother who has gotten into cards now. And, so we just, took it to the airwaves and said, let's do a podcast. Let's talk about it. We felt that we were knowledgeable enough to do it. And the ultimate goal really was to assist other collectors because we felt that there was a lot of newer collectors in the hobby getting into it. And we didn't want to share misinformation. We wanted to help people out there. If they had questions, they know that they could come to us and rely on us to get them what they need.
Yeah, no, that's basically what happened. I mean, we wanted to really be like the collectors podcast, not necessarily just, two guys talking about like, our gold Acuñas and our gold Sotos and, all these, $1,000 cards that we have and just kind of pumping that stuff. We really wanted to dive into, the checklists and, some of the nerdier aspects of the hobby, because that's what we were doing. We were collecting everything from, dollar rookies and inserts to, more expensive graded cards and everything in between that. So that's kind of how it started. Then eventually from there, it went into Card Foundation. And then once Card Foundation kind of took out over our lives and it was, becoming more and more popular and getting bigger, we kind of put Caught Looking on hiatus. We'll never say it's dead because I don't think it'll ever die. I don't think anything truly, real bands don't die.
You're into wrestling, so never say never.
Yes.
Exactly. We actually, for our Patreon members, we actually did a little bonus episode of Caught Looking about like 2 months ago. And it was the first time we recorded anything Caught Looking wise. It was just Danny and I jumped on for 45 minutes and we had fun. So who knows?
No Papa Bear in that one, huh?
No.
Well, so that's how we got linked with Papa Bear, was that he was a fan of the Caught Looking podcast. And
that was my nice segue going to that. Actually, how you got recruited Papa Bear.
Yeah, so he was tuning into the show and we would just go back and forth on social media just about baseball and, eventually wrestling. We find out his best friend growing up is Brian Myers, who Johnny and I have been fans of, in WWE and then into the independent. So really he was getting on board with us. We were into PSA grading. We were into collecting. Sure enough, fast forward, the idea he gets is, well, I want to get into wrestling podcasting now. What kind of show could I do? Well, I know a lot about cards, so let me get into cards. And then Johnny and I were looking to kind of get away from Caught Looking because it was getting time consuming, but it wasn't really, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for us.
So you tell me the wrestling is not time consuming? You guys are everywhere.
No, it is. It is, but it was, we were putting in a lot of effort to not grow. And we felt that baseball collectors, they're not the kind of people that will go listen to a podcast for 45 minutes to an hour, where wrestling, it's a huge podcasting space that people will consume content on. So we made the transition and that's how we got started.
Wow. And then you guys start out just the two of you, if I understand, and then you guys brought in Papa Bear like episode 3, which of course he'll say that's when it really got better.
Yeah, he thinks that's the beginning, but we all know that, you know, there were 2 episodes before that.
Yeah, we basically had the pilot episode 1, and then the producer said we gotta mix this up, man. Bring in something good.
Bring in the third, like the NWO. Figured we bring in the third man to spice it up.
Spice it up. That's when things really took off.
Exactly.
So then you guys have always been collectors your whole lives, right? What's the age difference between you guys? What's the age difference?
4 years.
4 years. Yep. So you guys growing up together, then you guys always collected, even as kids?
Yeah.
Since we were toddlers walking around and we could, play with wrestling figures, or, we would go get bootleg wrestling shirts from Tri-County Flea Market in Long Island, which was like a hub for that sort of stuff. And it was always collecting packs of cards that, looking through our father's binders of baseball cards and basketball cards, and we were just kind of consumed by it, since day one.
So you guys grew up in a family that actually had, parents who collected too then. So like,
our dad's been going to card shows for, since the 80s.
It's like, so you guys were like basically born into it.
Yep. No choice.
No choice. So then growing up, being brothers, you guys had like competitions, you got very competitive to each other collecting, jealous when someone got something that someone else didn't get. I mean, who beat up who?
So I think in the beginning, it was a lot of like, because since Dan was a little younger than me, I started collecting maybe like between 8 and 10 years old. So he was like 6 years old. So there really wasn't, it was kind of just like, we'd get, allowance money or birthday money, and we'd buy packs, and kind of like, we had like a generic binder that we put everything in, it was, one collection. And then fast forward, like maybe 10 or, so years later, where now I'm in my 20s and Danny's, almost in his 20s. And now it's a competition. Now it's like, all right, he just bought a hobby box. I got to buy a hobby box. He pulls a better card. I got to go buy another one. It's, but
you guys, as kids, you guys don't know the difference between, it's like, oh, you got a Johnny Bench rookie and you got, Tom. I mean, you guys really didn't know. I mean,
right. I knew Michael Jordan, and then there was everybody else. So if I got a Michael Jordan card, that was it, and everybody else was just everyone else.
You're rubbing in his face, I bet, right?
A little bit.
It was also a lot of collecting without realizing you're collecting. Like the crate of wrestling figures that we had were like it was like overflowing to the brim. And when it came to cards, it was just really, we kind of always collected just our favorites too. So it was always, looking for Mets, looking for specific players, when we get into wrestling and, you buy packs at the local guy at the mall, it's like, we're collecting our favorite stars. So for me, it was always The Rock. And for Johnny, it was always, Stone Cold or DX. So, it kind of, we kept each other's space too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It did help that like we never had the same favorites. So if I got like a Rock something, I would just give it to you. If there was an Austin thing, I would get it, So like when we got figures, like Mom would buy you a Rock figure and buy me the Austin figure. And it was kind of like,
you guys did it on purpose, or just because you just didn't like that person?
It was a natural kind of like,
out. I was never a Rock guy.
None of all. So the three of us really didn't have the same favorite ever. No. It was always someone different. And even with athletes, it was always someone different.
But you guys are both Mets fans.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That was insane. I'm sure that's probably been instilled in you guys' brain since birth too, probably.
Yep. Our father, our grandfather, it's a family history there.
It's a family history there. So then you guys started collecting in your early 20s. Like you guys weren't like really, when did you guys get really serious into like, this is our serious hobby? Like baseball cards. When did you start collecting wrestling cards? Like, I mean, when did it become serious for you?
I would say 2016 was when I really, wow, okay, this consuming my life more than it should, but there's a lot of money in it. Things cost more money. I had more money than any point in my life at that point. I had a real job, and so that's when I realized, like, all right, I'm 100% all in. This is my only hobby at this point. And again, it kind of went back to starting in sports and baseball and basketball, hockey, stuff like that. And then eventually, we started collecting wrestling, not even thinking of it as like the money aspect of the hobby. So it was like, oh, we had our baseball guys that, you put some of the prospects away, you hope that they grow and it grows your collection financially. But, wrestling was always kind of like, we just loved wrestling, so we would collect the guys that we liked.
So you never looked at wrestling as like
an investment or
like you did with baseball.
Nope.
And that's probably number one thing that's kind of a problem with our hobby, with most people who come into it, they just look at it from, just because they love it. So if you're looking from an investment standpoint, there's not a lot of, I've always said there's not enough zeros behind the numbers when it comes to wrestling cards. That's kind of changing now, I think. So
For sure.
And then with that Prism stuff, like you said, the Prism boys come into town. Next thing you know, they're starting to flip in a lot of these big cards. They're going to go for some big money.
Yeah, I think for me, it was like the big difference is I think the lack of like prospecting in wrestling. So like I remember being like 12, 13, and 14, growing up and saying, all right, this guy was the number 1 overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft. He's going to be a star. Like that's just the mentality I would have. So like I remember for me, the earliest kind of like prospecting was like Jose Reyes and David Wright, because they were Mets and because they had this huge future ahead of them. But it was also the first big name I remember was Evan Longoria, who, if people don't know, it was a Tampa Bay Ray, was an all-star. But I remember his cards at card shows being like $50 to $100 raw, and I thought that was like astronomical at the time. And I was like, how do I find a way to get my hands on this? Because like I think he's going to be huge. And with wrestling, there's not really that. It's like you have your favorite stars, and I think it's kind of flipped the script in a way, because like now we look at like The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, and their gold chromes, their autos, they're going for stupid money. And it never took off like that for wrestling, like figuring out who the next big star was going to be and just investing all you can into him.
A lot of guys are doing that now, though. People are kind of looking at NXT and these young guys coming into AEW, or they're prospecting now. They're kind of like, we're also kind of at the will of the booker. It's like how they're going to book these talents to kind of be over with the fans, kind of thing. So it's not so much on performance as it is like booking them for an opportunity to actually maybe shine, I guess. Like put them in the limelight a little bit. So it's strange. There's some similarities there, but it's a little bit different. And you just kind of go with like who you like, I grew up, I wasn't the biggest Hogan fan growing up. I like Rick Rude, and I like, Mr. Perfect. Those are my guys, hell, I even liked, Iron Mike Sharp, for crying out loud. I'm like one of the few guys, in North America that actually like Iron Mike Sharp. So it's just, you kind of go with what you love and you collect. That's always the beautiful thing about the hobby anyways. You just collect what you love.
And that's, we're like that too. For me, it's like, my biggest PC, or 2 biggest PCs, are Adam Cole and Dolph Ziggler. They're not names that set the world on fire. They're not Rock and Austin level superstars, but those are my guys. Like, I appreciate the work that they put in, and I'm a fan of their matches and, promos and what they do. So like, that's the collector in us saying, well, I don't care if it's $1,000 card or a $1 card. Those are my guys, and that's who I want. What
about you, Johnny? What do you collect? What's your main guys?
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm into a lot of the weirder stuff. I like some of the older, the older stuff, some of the stuff that's not like as popular. Like I'm not, I have like Roman Reigns stuff, but it's not like my main PC. I won't go after that. I mean, honestly, at this point, I would say some older stuff like Bret Hart's cards. I'm always looking for like ECW guys, because that's one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite promotion. So I'll go back and like I'll look at like the 2002 Fleer set. And I'll say like, okay, I want the, the Paul Heyman card of that set. It's cards out of that set. But it's just like guys that I like going after, like I'm on a big Paul Heyman kick lately. He's not, he's not this up and coming prospect that's going to, like Danny said, set the world on fire. But I always loved his stuff. I always loved ECW, and he's the face of that. So I'm kind of going back now and picking up some of that earlier stuff.
Comes to wrestling. I mean, you can't go wrong with your legends of wrestling. That's always going to drive the market. I think your Hogan, your Andre, your Flair, your Rock, your Stone Cold, those guys. And there's older guys that I've always been saying that don't get the love. I still say Vince doesn't get the love, even though he's had that almost $10,000 card. It was a 1 of 1, but he still doesn't get the love that he deserves like that. I mean, when that guy's gone, 76 years old, when that guy's gone, you're gonna see a lot of people clamoring for his cards, man, looking for his stuff.
Like that $10,000 card that's going up. It's not going down.
It's only going to go up. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, I've got a bootleg raw deal card here that when I met Vince, I had him sign it. So, I mean, I just kind of, I'm holding it. It's near and dear to me. So, cool. But I just think he's undervalued. I mean, there's a lot of guys I always say they're undervalued. And I think the whole wrestling market's undervalued.
Yeah.
And that was the thing too. Like, I know we joke about it on the show all the time. Johnny doesn't like Hogan or whatever. And, for me, it was always like, Hogan really wasn't our guy. I wasn't alive when Hogan was really, running wild all over the WWF back in the like late 80s, early 90s. I mean, we were kids. We were like Danny wasn't even born. You know, so like
I wasn't even a thought.
our guys were Austin, were The Rock, were DX, were Shawn Michaels. I mean, we only knew Hogan as NWO, you know, up until a point where we got old enough to go back and kind of learn. You know, so for me, like now I take that into my collection and I'm like, you know, the Wrestling All-Stars cards are cool, but you know, those aren't my guys. Yeah, so it's
well, I got two things that you just that just came to my head now that you said that. So one is you guys on your show don't cover a lot of vintage. You guys are more of a modern type slate. You got that's kind of more your guys' wheelhouse. It's like that.
Right.
Do you dabble a little? Because I listen to all your shows, and you dabble a little bit when it comes to some of the vintage stuff like that. Like, is it not an interest of yours at all? Like at all? Or
I would say it's more so of like what's happening in the now. Like if we know coming up it's going to be like a slow week where we know we could kind of dip back into some of the vintage stuff, we'll absolutely talk about it. It's kind of hard when there's so much like new news coming out, you know, like we're about to hammer home, you know, Panini Prism in the next episode that we do. And, you know, we're going to dive into the checklist and finest and women's division. All these things are happening in the now. So we're kind of prepping almost like towards the future. But it doesn't mean that we're not necessarily knowledgeable about some of the past stuff, because we are. We just we find that it depends on the week, really.
For me,
sometimes in wrestling, there's nothing going on in terms of like modern wrestling cards. So we know, all right, let's go dip back into the archive and let's cover, you know, like the past 2 weeks we did 2014 Topps Chrome and we did 2005 Topps Heritage Chrome. You know, so we're going to continue to just kind of do some of that stuff.
And I think, you know, a lot of it too is like you know, what we kind of collect and what we PC. You know, we lean very much towards the modern stuff, and that's a lot of sports. You know, being Mets fan, I don't, you know, the Mets 1986 team that won the World Series is arguably their greatest team ever. It just wasn't our team, you know. So I don't collect anything from that team just because I didn't grow up watching them. And we kind of take that same mentality with wrestling. There's also a lot of people within our space that I think do an amazing job covering that era and that space. You know, guys like you, guys like Zan. There's guys like Billy? No, trying to think some of the other names on the social media.
Even like David
Peck. You know, guys like that.
Bob England, some of those guys,
right? That do an amazing job promoting the vintage stuff and showing off their collections and talking about it. You know, we don't want to kind of interrupt that space. We want to learn from you guys and kind of just, you know, talk about what we know, what we're opening, what we're collecting, which is more of the modern stuff.
Because definitely when it comes to modern stuff, I mean, I end up listening to you guys for any information on that because it's not really my wheelhouse. I know what I know based on just the homework that I do. Like anybody else who's collecting should be doing anyways, is their homework. And there's a lot of places that different guys have different sections that they specialize in, kind of thing. You know, I've got a series coming out with Jamie Stocker from the UK. It's like that, who's, you know, he and I, when it comes to the Fleer product, that Fleer years, that's like totally right around our wheelhouse like that for sure. And so we're covering every single release, doing a release breakdown of every single set that came out by Fleer. I mean, he's got some amazing things of like, you know, proof sheets that never got made, of like China memorabilia cards that never got made, you know, things like that, you know, just, you know, from emails and stuff like that. So we're covering all that stuff, but
he's a great guy too, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm actually going to see him in April. I'm going to actually see him and have a beer with him in April.
Nice, very cool.
Hopefully. So you guys now have your show. It just started off as a podcast, but you guys are everywhere now. Like I see you everywhere. You guys are on Whatnot. You have a YouTube channel. You're over on all social media platforms. And my understanding is, Danny, that's all you. You're the guy who handles all the techie stuff. It's like that. Like how much you still have a job? How much of your week is involved?
I am very fortunate that I get to work from home. So hopefully none of my work people get to, you know, watch this episode. But no, it's the thing is, it's
we all do it, people. We all do it.
Yeah, no, at first it was more just like, how do we grow just the brand? Like, I don't want 100 people listening to the show. I want 100,000 people listening to the show. So I know, you know, learning, especially, I think the biggest influence is actually Matt Cardona, who obviously is Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. He's running the Major Pod Network. And he kind of instilled in us, you have to be everywhere. You know, tweet every day, post on Instagram every day, go out, sell stuff, meet new people, because that's the best way to kind of promote your brand. And who better than him?
Yeah,
I
of
mean, he
course.
started the whole social media presence in WWE and in really in pro wrestling. And he doesn't always get the credit he deserves for that. But, you know, for us, it's learning from guys like that that helps us elevate our game. And it is very time consuming, but we know we have to do it.
Because you have an end goal?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to take this podcast and I would love to live off it. I would love to make a ton of money where this is my only job, you know, because I'm so passionate about it and I enjoy it so much. You know, not to obviously there's not being greedy about him is, oh, I'm going to make $1 million off of selling things on whatnot. That's absolutely not the case. But, you know, it's really just living comfortably off of something I'm truly passionate about and truly love.
Because then it's not really work then.
Right. It's just you're enjoying your life and that's how it should be, I think.
And I think we're lucky too. We have a supportive family, you know, that kind of from day one, they were like, you know what, we could see that you guys are passionate about it. So go for it. So like our parents have been super cool with just, you know, not, you know, always being around to do every single thing with the family. Because, you know, we have packages to do or notes to do for our show, or we're doing an interview or something. And, you know, my wife's been amazing with like, you know, going to bed most nights, you know, by herself because I have, you know, show notes to type up, or we're doing a live thing on our Facebook and, you know, dealing with the noise of, you know, recording and
I
all
feel
that
you
stuff.
on
But,
all that, man. I feel you 100%
you know,
on that.
but she sees the passion. I mean, last night she was, you know, me, her and Danny were packing envelopes for our Patreon. Was in our kitchen last night, you know, until 10 o'clock at night.
I do remember, I think I came in the office to do a podcast one night. My son was 1. I came out, he was 3. It was amazing. like I mean, it feels like that sometimes, you know, like I'm up till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, either recording or, you know, doing WTC edits like that. Cause I'm like you guys, I'm trying to build a brand. You know, WTC has been around. This is our 20th anniversary this year, and trying to build a brand of just what that brand's going to be. What can it possibly be? I have no idea, but I have to continue to keep moving forward and trying to make it something, you know, whether it be a t-shirt line or a trading card line or something. It has to be something because it's just been a huge chunk. I'm 52. It's taken over 20 plus years of my life of building a website, because before it was WTC, it was Collect, and that had about a 2-year run. So, I mean, 22 years of my life has been, you know, put in towards the hobby of collecting wrestling cards, and something has to happen with it. So yeah, I'm passionate about it too, like you guys, and trying to grow the hobby. I want to educate people. I want people to kind of have a resource to go to, like, you know, this is the place to go to, because that has all the information. That's where PSA or Beckett or SGC is going to, you know, use to help authenticate my cards. It's kind of why I brought it back from the dead, you know, and you know, updated with all the indie stuff first before anything else, because that's such a huge market. So now I hear, speaking of indie, segue, some of you guys don't like it. Some of you do. Who likes it? Who doesn't?
I've grown to like it, I think, is the big thing, because I was such in a traditionalist way. Like, I got to pack pull it. It's got to be from a big manufacturer. It's got to be from a Topps or an Upper Deck or a Panini. I thought some of the indie stuff was kind of not, it was bootleg, but it was starting to teeter towards that line.
It is a fine line. It is a fine line.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, anyone could just make any card they want. And should it be counted as legit? Should it not be? I think, but I've come to learn it's like, it's almost beauty is in the eye of the collector in a sense, because it's like everyone's got their own little niche that they collect in. We know people that will strictly only collect indie. They don't care about WWE. They don't care about AEW. Indie is their go-to. And we've come to learn to at least respect it, because there's a space for it and we should respect it as it is.
It's difficult for me as an archivist, like for WTC, in the sense that, like, I know there's a lot of guys who do one-offs, like do custom cards for themselves, and they're one-offs. I don't care or bother with those really. But when I have something like, you know, a Wes Moore who has an incredible collection would send me, hey, you're one of the 10 guys. I'm sending this WCW card set that I had, you know, Joypad Lad make for me, which, you know, like, you know, Icebreakers, and all these different guys. It's like, wait, there's 10 sets. I got to archive it now because they exist. Because if I don't want my collection anymore and I sell it to somebody else and it trades hands, it now exists. And like, you know, I'm not a fan of certain things. I have been using that phrase for a long time, bootleg. It's kind of like, you know, we don't use the B word, man. We don't use the B word. But it's true. It's what they are. And it's like, I'm like a reporter. I didn't make the accident. I just report the accident,
Yeah.
and I got to archive it because it has to be there. Like, I have this, you don't have it on your website. It's and I will make a notation. This is an unofficial release. It's not a licensed release, and then let the card graders decide what they want to do from there. At that point, I'm not here to do that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I like the indie stuff. I mean, it's not something that's new. It's been around for a long time. I just I just linked up Breaker, because now people are like, where's your images? Well, there's some coming. There's websites, there's some checklists that have them already. In 1993, there's an independent wrestling company that did called the Unbeatables, or something it was called. It was a Mid-South. That's become very popular card. So that contains really nobody in it, but it's because it's so hard to come by. So indie card sets have been around for a long time. And I'm kind of like you, Danny. I used to think that, if it didn't come from a pack from a major manufacturer, I can't pull it out. It's not like a really real cards to me kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then it kind of like, well, I got to have it because I'm like really into the cards.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, as an Adam Cole PC guy, it's like, I have to get his, GCW or his PWG card. I got to try to get the IPW card, because I'm trying to be a completist of him. So it's like, I got no choice. I got to look for this sort of stuff and add it to the PC.
But you, Johnny, you lean more to like, you've really embraced the indie stuff.
Yeah, I think I have, which is weird because I think in the beginning it was like anywhere, I was like, how do you read this kind of stuff? Or like if 20 people have this card and there's only 50 in existence, how is that kind of like official in a way? Or how do you rank the different indies in legitimacy? So it's like, okay, well, GCW, that's a legit indie, but the ABC indie that I started, is that on the same level? So I had a hard time with that in the beginning, I think. But now I'm like, this is kind of a cool little folk kind of thing that people are doing and people are collecting. And now that we're seeing some of these big names that have had cards for a number of years, now all of a sudden they're on AEW every week, and they're more in the mainstream. I think it's awesome that people are now going back and saying, oh, I need that Darby Allin card, or I need that Jungle Boy card. And there's people that have them, that have always collected them, and I'm way more accepting of it now. And I've dove in a little bit, and I think it's cool.
I've been doing reaching out to a lot of indie places and having them on as guests, talking about their products like that coming out, because like it's like the cool thing to do these days now for these indie card companies to go out places to go out and make cards now, because it's a cheap way to promote your product. Really cheap.
It's a great way to do it.
Yeah, and it's and then you get collectors like us who are like, I gotta have that card now. How can I get it? It's like that. I posted this. I don't have it handy. I posted this set that came out from Outbreak, this Outbreak wrestling card set, and they had one called Legends of Hamburg as well. That
I saw
posted it, and people were like, "Wait, I haven't seen this before." When you can stump a Chuckster and a Paul from the Price Guide, like, I've never seen this before.
Then you did something right.
It's like, oh, okay. All of a sudden now they're sold out. So now they're going to be doing a second series this year. It's like, but it's like another way of prospecting though, because you never have an idea who might become a big star one day.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? It's cheap. It's $25, $30, whatever it may be for a 20, 30 card set. I'll buy it. I'm supporting a local independent stuff because I'm a big fan of that. And then who knows? The next Stone Cold could be out of there. The next Rock could be out of there. We don't know.
Yeah. Right.
So it's just it's a fun little side thing. Collecting with Caleb. Caleb does a great YouTube channel when it comes to talking about indie stuff. And he's like the king of indies right now, man.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because like you see some of the values it goes for. Like 2 years ago, no one thought that Darby Allin was going to have his PWG bowler card be worth $300 raw or $250 raw. And then years ago, it's like Roman Reigns's FCW card.
Yep.
A couple years ago, I bought that card graded already for $30 2 years ago. Imagine that card 5-6 years ago, what it was worth. And then, like you just said, you don't know who's going to be that next guy that just takes off. So you might as well get in on it now.
That's why, for me, I'm a Kurt Angle collector. But then I said, well, I need something modern too. So I'm like, okay, I'll do Dexter Loomis like that. Why not?
Right.
I'm going to be honest with you. Never watched the guy wrestle. I have no idea. I just saw the look. I go, okay, seems kind of cool. He's got tats. I got tats. I can relate. I don't know. It just, but his costs are so cheap. It's like, who knows?
Right.
I'm in it. doesn't cost me a whole lot. He doesn't pan out. I can flip it probably for what I paid for it. Probably no problem.
Yeah.
I also liked the I'm gonna say quote unquote stadium giveaway aspect of it. So again, coming from baseball and other sports, you go to a game and sometimes they'd have a promotion where you get a bobblehead or you'd get a hat or something like that. A different stadium giveaway. And we've always been super into those as fans. We'd go to the game specifically sometimes for a specific giveaway that they were doing. So when I kind of learned about where these sets were coming from, and I was like, oh, so you go to the show and there was maybe 100 sets at the show and you have to be there in person to get it because, back then they weren't throwing everything online. There really wasn't a market for it. So it was like, come to the show, you get this pack of cards, you get everybody in it and support support our guys. I fell in love with that aspect of it, kind of like the DI, because it's what we're doing too. Doing that with podcasts, especially where it was like, we're making our own shirts, we're making our own cards because it's stuff that we think is cool. It's shirts that we would want to wear, or we would want people that like our show to kind of be into. So when I got a little more understanding of like where these cards were coming from and how they were being sold, and I instantly jumped on.
I agree with you. I mean, the first PWG set was created by that guy, and they were just given away for free at the show.
Right.
The first,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
who would have known? And then you make it,
Right.
next thing you know, it's like they're just giving away. Again, cheap form of advertising. I kind of like the indie stuff. I mean, that's why, limitless cards now are so popular. It's like, and it seems like these indie card sets, they become like a flavor of the month almost in a sense. Like, All In was all the rage. That was all the rage for a while. And it still is a very popular set. Then the GCW stuff kind of eclipsed that a little bit. Because guys are discovering people. Now Limitless has become like the thing. And
Limitless for sure.
And I've got an episode coming out next week about that from the guys. And then now you got Shakira. It's kind of like becoming like the thing right now, where guys are like really like, this is the next indie cards that you guys should be focusing on. So they're all over the place. You never know where you're going to find the next popular card set.
Right.
I mean, it's just great to me. So I love it. And then with these cards, that's why when it comes to indie stuff, like that was the first thing I wanted to get on the website and start archiving and put all the information on there, because I knew a lot of guys were wanting to get these cards graded. And if Beckett or PSA are looking for places, and I was told that they use our website to help authenticate things, then I felt like, hey, we need to get this out there quickly so guys can go out and get these graded.
Right.
Where do you guys stand on when it comes to like the grading versus people who despise grading? Like, where do you guys stand on that?
I hope I don't piss people off with this.
Well,
trust me, I've already had some guys on where we had like, I wanted to have like the David Beck versus, whoever who's anti-grading like that and have them come on, but I can never get two guys on who are on polar opposites to talk about.
Oh, you might have the closest you're going to get. So for me, I used to grade a little bit when I was younger. When back in the days when you can afford to, and it didn't cost you a mortgage just to send a couple cards in. And I used to primarily grade with Beckett, because that's who used to come to our local card shows, and those are the reps that I knew. So I would just submit with them. And I did it because I loved the way that the card looked in the slab. It protected it. You could display it a little bit better. You could put it up on a T stand if you want. You can, keep it in your box if you want. But I loved the fact that it was secure. Whatever condition you had it in, that's the way it was going to stay. And then, kind of going fast forward a couple of years, then all of a sudden, the value for graded cards went through the roof. PSA became, not just, the vintage card grader, but it's the only grade people want for their modern cards also. And I didn't necessarily understand or believe in the aspect of like, well, you have this card, you have a PSA 10, it's now all of a sudden worth this. I didn't need my whole collection to be that way. I loved the card. I wasn't going to pay, 5x for a card because it was graded. I just wanted to have it for my collection and, whatever. But I now kind of come full circle. I'm like, I understand the value of that. I understand pop reports, and I understand, what makes a card valuable. It might be the rarity. It might be how low the population of the card is. And, but then, someone like Danny who would literally probably grade, his socks if they could come back in a grade.
I wouldn't say that. That's a stretch.
You and Paul are pretty close to
definitely Paul would be in that category.
Paul would grade his son's homework if he can get a grade on it. So
have you always been into grading then yourself then, Danny?
I was not. No.
Or did Paul get you into that?
He did.
A little
Yeah,
bit, yeah.
because I was always that just guy that was all about just collecting. I enjoyed having what I had and not caring what the monetary value was on it. I didn't care if it was worth $1 million or a dollar. It didn't matter to me. But when I started to realize that, you know what, I am spending a good amount of money on what I have in my collection, why not also turn it into almost like an investment where if I am going to spend the money and I'm going to put the work in, I want it to kind of maintain value or potentially grow value into the future. Because one day I hope to have kids where I could pass some of this stuff down to them and we could kind of do it as a hobby together. So for me, it's like I would love to have the flexibility where I have a card graded, it's in my collection, and if it does grow in value, I could part ways with it and I can make money off of it. I think there's a good combination of the both, and I'm good in that middle space.
I've always for God, decades now, I've always said that cards were like stocks,
Yeah.
always. But no one really not a lot of people were really thinking of in that terms because there's not really a lot of investment. It's cardboard. Why would anybody care about that kind of stuff? Like, I mean, I remember when, Gretzky was playing for the Kings like that, and that special they had on TV, it was with the magician with David Copperfield, like they took the Honus Wagner card and tore it up. And then like, oh
Yeah.
my God, it's worth like $1.2 million. I mean, that was a lot of money back then. And
Yeah.
it's like, but why would someone pay for that? And I caught on early that, well, because there's value there. There's when to buy and when to sell. I was very much a non-sport guy, even though I grew up as a kid collecting baseball cards. I was still got into non-sport stuff. So I was into Star Wars and Buffy the Vampire Slayers like that. Anything that was like TV related, I would gravitate towards some movies. But there was always value there. I thought that everything has value. Like I'm a collector at heart. I've always been a collector since I was a kid. Like one of my earliest memories ever is taking an old refrigerator box, cutting a hole in it for a door to come in and a window, and having a little table set up inside that and selling like cards, marbles,
Yep.
toys that I didn't care for anymore, and selling my stuff. Like it was always
Right.
that's how I always was.
Yeah.
And it's also like the thrill. It's like I've come to a point where it's like there's certain cards I would get for like 5, 10, $20. All of a sudden I grade it, I dime it, and a year goes by and it's like, wow, this is worth, X amount of money now. I'm kind of like proud of myself for trying to like realize, hey, this could be potentially big, and it pans out. It's like it's almost like a thrill and the chase aspect of it too.
But there's
That
also a
I
learning
enjoy.
aspect. I had a follower send me a message once and asked me about some advice because he said, I'm getting my 10-year-old son is getting into collecting now, and I want to use it as a way to teach him about economics, about prioritizing things, how
That's
to
cool.
maintain things, collecting things. And so there's that aspect of collecting as well as, hey, I could go out and prospect this and buy this, get it graded, and it could actually grow into something even larger. You never know. So there's an economic side of it too that people can learn from, I think, as well. Again, playing into the stock market type stuff, when to buy, when to sell.
And even like to kind of add to that, it's like I enjoy also winning for, fellow collectors and people out there. So like part of our Patreon perk is like I'll put together like a monthly investment blog where I'm just talking about, hey, look for some of these things I think it could grow potentially in, this time frame or this, however long it would take. So recently, like about a month or two ago, I was talking about the Rock X Fractor from 2020 Chrome. And I told people it's a $10, $15 card. You know what? You guys should buy now because everything Rock is exploding. Why won't this also not explode? Sure enough, it's $100 card now. And it's like people are sending thank you saying, wow, I bought 2 or 3 of these at $10. You just made me X amount of money. To me, that's also thrilling, is like I'm helping other people in that aspect too. So we're trying to help the collector only guys, but also guys that do want to make money. We're trying to balance that.
It's tough. It's a tough market. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
especially in a market that's so like, I feel like we're still fresh and new. Everybody's so used to baseball, basketball, football, and stuff like that. Then you get into wrestling, and again, not as many zeros as those other sports, but it's a slow climb. It's coming out there.
Yeah.
It's coming up, and that's why I think it's important to have guys like you guys for the Card Foundation, especially talking modern stuff, especially too, because now you guys are really kind of prospecting on some of this new talent out there as well. I know you guys do your rookie talk and stuff like that, which is always a very controversial topic anyways, about rookies. And it's one of my favorite aspects of you guys' shows. Listen to you guys go back and forth all the time talking about like, no, man, I don't care about stuff from over in Europe. I only care about this over here. Oh, it's not pack pulled. I don't care about that shit. You know, it's just fun to hear that kind of, because it's been the number one thing outside of someone sending something to WTC saying, what's my card worth? They want to know, like, is this a rookie card?
Yep.
Right.
And it's like, I don't have an answer for you because I don't even ever use the word rookie cards when I describe things. Really, I don't think. I just first opinion.
And it's interesting too, because I think a lot of people that have been with the wrestling hobby space for a while, you know, they may not care as much about a rookie card in the sense of a traditional, you know, rookie logo on the card and, you know, whatever. I mean, everyone has an idea of like what the earliest card of someone is, you know, but it wasn't like as important of a thing as it is in other sports. But as we're seeing a lot more people enter this hobby, that's the question they're asking. You know, I agree with you. I think one of the number one questions we get is, I like Chris Jericho. What's his rookie card? You know, I like Rob Van Dam. What's his rookie card? You know, aside from the, you know, I just pulled this, what's it worth? And then having to explain the whole, you know, eBay sold, you know, whatever. You know, which is like probably our number one inquiry.
There's a point in time years ago on an old computer, I literally had a Word doc open up with a copy and paste just to hit as a reply for stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but I think that now that a lot of these people are now entering this space, it's important to, you know, kind of talk about that stuff because that's what people are interested in. And they may be coming from a baseball or a basketball world where, you know, rookies kind of lead the charge. It's the rookies and the GOATs. And I think that's why we're kind of expanding more on the rookie talk segment, because people are interested in it.
It's one of my favorite parts of the episode. So I listen to that aspect of you guys kind of going back and forth. Like, no, I don't believe that's like that. Like, I don't, especially with Papa Bear. I was like, no.
Oh, he's a wild card. You never know what you're gonna get.
You never know. Like, it's like it's weird. But he flip flops. Like 1 week he goes, oh, you know, I guess I'll consider that. It's like, but that's an action figure card. You didn't like action figure cards last week. Now you like them all of a sudden.
Yep.
You know what? I at least from my perspective try to like. It's almost like a math equation. I have to take X amount of things to like come up with the determination as to what I really think like the true rookie card is or what the rookie card to own is. And, you know, there's a lot of layers to it that like wrestling is so difficult. And that's why we kind of brainstorm out loud. So even if people think we're wrong out there, at least it kind of helps them come up with their own conclusion too, as to what they just feel is the rookie card.
Because in the end, the market's always going to dictate as far as value goes.
100%.
But you know, from a personal standpoint, you can always have I mean, it's subjective to whatever your favorite is.
Right.
I mean, there's you know, 2002 brought, you know, Fleer put out multiple releases in 2002 that all feature Brock Lesnar for the most part.
Right.
Which one you're going to really call his rookie card? Everybody, the market dictated that Royal Rumble was it.
Yep.
Right.
And that's just kind of where it goes. But you may like, you know, his Absolute Diva one better.
Yeah.
You know,
and now we're seeing,
and you get Paul Heyman with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing like his AKA insert from that year is gone up in value. You know, I remember that card a couple months ago was, you know,
thank God, 'cause I sent in a bunch of those. That's in my submission. I'm waiting.
It's a great looking card. It's a great looking card. And he looks like a monster in that set. And now all of a sudden it's like, hey, 2002, it might be considered his quote unquote rookie year.
Yeah.
So anything that's produced from, you know, Fleer at the time and that year would be a rookie card. That AKA card's got to be thrown in there. You know, that Absolute Divas card.
That could be said about any star from any year. 100%. Like, I mean, who was rookie 2014, 2015? Everybody's going after. That's kind of your guys' realm. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, for like 13, it's Roman Reigns. That's his first Topps card. Same thing with Rollins and Ambrose, obviously, because they come up as the Shield. And then Big E would be in that space as well.
Like Alexa Bliss is like one who's on fire when it comes to all female stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So like that first year she was in, didn't she have like multiple cards that came out that year of her?
Yeah.
Like that's all should be considered rookie, right? Because in baseball, I mean, you'd have Bowman and you have Topps, you'd have Flair, you'd have Donruss, they would all put out their own shit. So like, you know,
Ken Griffey's got 5 rookie cards from all different companies.
Exactly.
You know, it's not like whoever came out with the first one, that's the official one and that's it.
Right. It's whatever the market dictates it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that ended up being, as we know, the upper deck, you know, so it becomes its own thing and its own, you know, fame and, you know, however else you want to put it.
That was the year that I became an Upper Deck fan because they were out of Yorba Linda, California, where they started. And I lived in Yorba Linda.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
I was doing this thing at the time called, I was doing model home cleaning. So basically go into homes that, you know, for show, you know, and they're building a new project. And I go in and clean those model homes twice a week, every week. Well, one of them was by the Upper Deck plant. So, which the Upper Deck plant was in front of a railroad track. So I take the railroad track and walk it, come over into their dumpster area, and you have the big giant drums where all like, they have it there, and then this dumpster. And that place was like Fort Knox. So I'm very impressed with the amount of salvaging I was able to get out of their dumpsters.
Wow, that's
But
awesome.
I would go in and open the dumpster, and you'd see in there trash, cuts from like when you went from cutting, it's like that, you have like little shred of cutting.
Yeah.
And you see there's a lot of uncut sheets in there, and they're all off-centered. You take that, you just drag all this cardboard, out because it's heavy, and drag it all out and pop and hide behind the trash bins. And you're going through it, and you're going through the sheets. You're going, okay, more centered. Oh, this is all set. Everything from here is all centered, and you just take it all with you. It's like you'd find strands of packs.
That's great.
Empty. Oh, cards in it. Empty. Oh, cards in it. And just grab a whole bunch of stuff like that. And that's what that was my first experience with Upper Deck.
That's awesome. And real quick, I'm gonna grab my charger. I know we're live, pal, but
yeah, you got to do what you got to do, man. Before I get into some controversial stuff, I want to go into. Well, I mean, maybe we shouldn't because he's not here to defend himself. But
that's all right. He had his own show with you.
Yeah, that's right.
Months ago, so.
Who came up with the name Card Foundation podcast? Who killed that logo? Because that is a kick-ass logo.
Thank you.
I mean, I wear it. I'm happy to wear it. It's like that. I show support. I think it's something that we don't see in other hobbies where people like to help each other out and support each other. We have that in wrestling big time. But that logo kicks ass. It's, the name's awesome. I mean, where did it all come from?
So I think Danny and I kind of came up with it ourselves, like together. We were bouncing a ton of names off of each other. I mean, I remember even like,
okay, what I want to know, what hit the cutting room floor? What got?
Can you remember any of them?
Honestly, they were so bad it wasn't even worth.
I'm trying to think. They were all wrestling, kind of like
Yes.
So similar to like the Card Foundation. It was like, God, I wish I could remember some of them. But literally, it was every night. It was like
the Just Bring It podcast,
right? Like stuff like that. It was like, all right, what do you think? And then it was like, I don't know, too cheesy.
But we knew it had to like incorporate cards in it. So like, that was the tough draw. Was like, all right, we can't just have a wrestling name because everyone's gonna think it's just a wrestling podcast. We have to distinguish that it's about cards. So
it's actually, and that's how I kind of stumbled upon Zan in the beginning, because I was like, I got the name Wrestling with Cards. I love it. And then I'm like, shit, it's already taken. But this is kind of cool. And I started getting into the show. But I think, it was kind of one night. It was just like, I was a big Bret Hart fan. I'm like, what about the Card Foundation? He's like, I think that's got enough. So then,
Major Pod kind of helped with that too, because they have one of their tiers to their Patreon is called the Hard Foundation. So if we figured, all right, well, we weren't a part of their branding yet, but it was like, it was an easy transition to say, all right, we could kind of rip them off too and just call it the Card Foundation.
You just changed one letter and there you
are.
And
we were good to go.
Yep. So that logo. I think that was, I kind of just, I don't know. I mean, I've always been into like drawing logos and like drawing different things. So the Quote Looking podcast, which we did before this, I drew that logo by hand. I sent it to a graphic designer and he just made it, like on the computer, because I can't do anything graphic wise with a computer, but I could draw on paper. So then with this logo, I kind of just drew it. I had an idea of like what I wanted. And then, someone that Danny knew actually that does this for a living, we kind of sent him my drawing and he was like, same exact thing. He kind of sent it back. We were like, that's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah. We knew basically if you're going to call yourself the Card Foundation, we have to spoof Bret Hart's logo.
Of course.
Right. He's the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. So let's try to get a logo that also is the best there is, best there was, the best there ever will be.
And I was always in love with that era of the Hart Foundation when they wore the jackets and Pillman was in it with the Bulldog and, Anvil. And I loved that like 1997 era Hart Foundation. So I kind of was like, I saw the jacket with the logo with the, the black and white with the pink. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want. So.
Yeah, it's good for branding, good for business cards, good for everything.
Yeah.
Yep. It works great, man. I love it.
T-shirts, so.
And that became like, it was your first trading card you guys put out too with that logo.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because we knew eventually like we wanted to come up with like a trading card line to kind of like, or we thought, like you mentioned before, it was a good promotional tool. So like when we started to go to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast live shows, if we want to set up a merch table, well, what's something that could catch someone's eye? Well, we're all about cards. Why don't we just come out with a card? We'll make it limited. We'll autograph it. It might be a cool little thing that catches on. And now we have our Patreon card line that we dove into, and it's like, it's getting kind of fun to create some of this stuff.
I've missed out on all those, just so you know. So I really
I have some tucked to the side, so I'll get.
I really need to actually, what I really need from you guys, I've been asking you guys, I need to get all
I
this
got you
stuff
on the
done for the
checklist.
checklist.
I got you.
I mean, you ain't official, baby, until you're on WTC.
No, we're not.
That's right.
I mean, we got to get you guys put on there. I need to have all information, you know, runs, whatever you guys want to get. The more information collectors know, them, the better. It's like that. That was cool. I've always wanted to know where the logo came from, the name came from. So now I know, and we all know.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we just want to have fun, you know, at the end of the day. Like Johnny and I we've been podcasting for, you know, whatever it is, 2-3 years now. And it's like, it's become a highlight for us, you know, throughout the week. It's like, you know, because now Johnny's moved out. I'm still with my parents living at home. So it's like one of the ways that we do bond is through cards and podcasts. So it's fun that we get to kind of maintain our relationship by doing this, you know, and it was fun coming up with the name and the logo and, you know, coming up with the whatnot. What are we going to put on YouTube? And it kept continuing to expand.
And they keep going. And by the way, Danny, you're doing all the editing. You're doing all the technical stuff. That's all you.
Kills me.
It's not part of my talent contract, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's good too, because like now we've kind of broken up the responsibilities. So like Paul is a monster on Instagram. Like people will message and I'll go to message them back. Paul's already on it like instantly. It's kind of crazy. So he's taking care of that. Johnny will go on Twitter and take care of the Twitter. I float when I can just to, you know, make sure everyone's answered and we're taking care of everything. But other than that, the technical stuff, yeah. I get screwed with all the editing, all the YouTube videos, all the whatnot graphics. It's a lot.
I just text Johnny directly. I don't even bother about social media. Forget all that stuff, man.
Yeah, we just talk on the phone. Anyway. Yeah.
As we're just talking everything else. So, yeah. I have a personal relationship now, so I don't need you guys. I don't need anything.
There you go.
But, let's flip it over to something real controversial here. It's like that. Well, a little bit for me. It's like, because I'm affected by this too, by the way. So it seems that there has been some sort of issue between Papa Bear and someone who, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, I do.
Now, reason why that I'm involved in this as a, you know, I've been a bit affected by it is because this particular person also they've blocked me on all social media. He's the guy who designed what you see behind me. For those who are actually watching this, not listening, is the T-shirt card that from a T-shirt we did.
Yep.
It came out, and everything he did came out top notch. It all came out great. I mean, from the card, the T-shirt, the quality of the T-shirt, we sold out in a week. It was all great. He did a great job, and all of a sudden then he just completely ghosted me. You know, like I'm for the first time ever publicly, I'm putting it out there right now. I sent him out on Christmas Day. I wished him a Merry Christmas. I said, thank you so much for helping taking WTC to a different level. We're moving in the right direction. Looking forward to, you know, whatever it was I said, it was all positive. And we were both on iPhone, so blue to blue, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden now my message goes green.
Uh-oh.
So I go, oh, well, you know, he does go out in some like weird places to go fishing. So maybe he has no reception. I don't know. So like, I mean, who wants to go fish on, you know, Christmas Day and, you know, in December, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not judging. And then nothing. And so I go, okay. And I sent him a couple days later. I said, hey, copied and paste. You didn't get my message. That went to blue. Okay. Maybe he was, you know, not, you know, getting my message, signal.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I said, hey, is something wrong? Did I do something wrong? So like that went to green.
Yeah, that's too much. That's crazy.
The next thing I know, I go on Instagram, I go on Twitter. This guy's gone. You know what? I got multiple accounts. Let's go check another account. So I check on another account. Sure enough, I've been blocked.
Yep.
What happened?
So just to kind of not like, you know, obviously like we don't want to, you know, air anyone out or whatever. We're kind of, the three of us have kind of taken a stance of like our brand is kind of bigger than all this.
So because I'd seen the conversation taking place in your guys' private, you know, Facebook groups like that, where it got brought up. I think I even posted asking about like, you know, hey, I got ghosted too. This is why I'm not saying any names. I'm just like, what happened? I don't know what happened.
So basically to make a long story short, there was a Raz that had taken place that Papa Bear had done and had been doing for a number of months at this point. There was a kind of a disagreement with how the Raz went. Papa Bear went above and beyond to accommodate, and he had changed the start time of the Raz to accommodate this person, and waited to let him have his chance to be involved so he could pick his card when he entered it. It just kind of never showed up, never kind of ghosted the whole thing. Cards were picked for him. He didn't agree with the process. Multiple different opportunities to send him something else or whatever came up. There was a disagreement. It kind of ended at that. We had kind of reached out a couple days later or however long it was after that, and we thought there was a kind of like a mutual that was stupid, it's over, let's move on, whatever.
How far back ago was this, by the way?
Quite a while.
The winter.
It's been
November, December,
half a year maybe almost now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a big thing too was we don't want to if we aired the full conversation of what happened, I think people would probably side with us if they saw the whole thing. I'll just say that. But I mean, he
because
did
the person in question here, who's ghosted everybody, it's like that. Definitely in all my conversations, because I talked to him extensively on the phone, because obviously doing art projects with him and some graphic design. So all my the graphic I use for each one of my episodes for my YouTube, so the background, the template, he designed it. And I was like, okay, well, I know Photoshop too. I could have designed that as well, but he took the time to do it for me. And now I edit it because I have all the files like that. But I feel like maybe I'm guilty by association now, because I had Papa Bear on as a guest.
It's like, I see it as, and kind of what I was losing. He basically, a big thing, a part of the two was that he asked Papa Bear to pick the cards for him in the Raz, and Papa Bear and even myself and Johnny thought, well, that's not fair, because if we pick your cards and someone else doesn't, what if the person that was in there wanted that card? That's not right. That's not fair. You have to be in it to pick your card, to be, participating. So that was another thing that kind of stemmed off that, upset him. And obviously we didn't want to see anyone upset by it. So it upset us too. Yeah. So, we kind of try to dead it. We don't bring it up often. And then, we continue to get buried and bashed by him, but we don't let it phase us.
I don't see any of that because I'm blocked on everything.
We're blocked too.
Well, on one particular account, I noticed just today, as a matter of fact, why I added to my little notes, because I do show notes too, guys. I checked the account. I go, oh, well, I'm following his actual Whatnot accounts like that that he also has on Twitter. So I saw that he's still going strong on that. So and to his credit, he was one of the first guys that actually just doing wrestling cards on Whatnot. But yeah, I've seen other guys getting involved like that. You guys are heavily involved in it as well. It's a format that I'm totally foreign to. I got approved for it back in November last year. And I thought, no, I don't have time for that. And two, I just it's just not my style, I guess. So I just didn't know. I was curious to know and hear the other side, because I'm never going to hear from this person apparently to hear that side. It was just something that was it's odd and unusual in our hobby for our niche to see this kind of thing happen, really.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. It kind of started off as a little bit of a disagreement, and we wanted to squash it. We don't, that's not the space that we're in. We're not, trying to start anything. I mean, everyone we've come across in the hobby that's given us the time, to create a relationship. We are still friends with, you and Zan and, all these guys that we've met.
Even across the pond.
Across the pond, some of our, the closest guys that we have, and that we talk to every day. And, so when this kind of happened, it was it's upsetting, but we can't let it define us, and we can't let it kind of bring the brand down. And so we kind of just ignored everything else that's going on, and it's still going on, on Whatnot. You'll see it's, everything's kind of geared towards, mocking Papa Bear in a way. And we've had, all the people that are we've become friends with that, listen to our show, and we've kind of created this little community. They've kind of sided with us, and we do stuff with them, and we promote you guys. We promote the people that we do, Whatnot with and everything. And it's kind of it's a shame. You could be a part of this too. We're all trying to raise each other and raise the hobby. But if that's the case, then it is what it is. We'll kind of just continue to move on and that's it.
Yeah, it sucked for me because we had designs for series 2 of the card and t-shirt design idea that I'm
Right.
never gonna probably see.
Don't say that, because if you have the idea, we got guys that will hook it up for
Well,
you.
we'll talk off air because I
Yeah.
definitely have something that I want to do. I want to continue.
I got you covered.
An annual series of some kind.
And I promise we won't block you. You're good.
Okay. Death Stones. Like, okay. And speaking of, then we'll close it out with this, because I know you guys, we have a time difference and we all have families and things like that, because I could talk wrestling with you guys forever.
All day. Yep.
Speaking of the hobby and community getting together, we've talked about a lot before in the past about this hobby is different than every other hobby. It seems like this industry, this part, wrestling cards.
Mhm.
I'm not familiar with the baseball stuff you guys are, or basketball, football, even Pokemon or anything like that at all. It's different. So being that said, people know now that I'm running a show called Top Rope Wrestling Con. It's my first time actually doing a convention. You guys were the first guys over everybody else, were the first guys I reached out to saying, do you guys want to be a part of this? Because in my mind, I thought, I can't have WTC be there and doing something for WTC, which is going to be there in a sense, because I know that, Paul from the Price Guide is coming down from Toronto for the show. They got a booth and they're going to come down and represent both the Price Guide and WTC for us. And then, but you guys are the first guys I reached out to, and that never would have happened really if it didn't have this kind of community that we have, I think. Tell me a little bit about, like, what do you guys got planned, maybe, or what's going on? I mean, what's happening? I mean, because I've kind of just like thrown you guys names as we start booking names like that, just saying, hey, go ahead and do this, because you guys have been doing awesome promoting the show and looking for vendor spaces, then the talent names coming out and blah blah blah. There's a lot more coming out, but like I keep hearing like, oh, we got big play, we got some stuff up our sleeves and da da da. Like, no one's telling me anything. I don't know what's going on. Like, can you announce anything or don't spoil everything?
No, we could. I think a big thing it's gonna be like a just an all-out Card Foundation in your face assault. So we're gonna be looking to sling cards, whether it's singles, boxes, slabs, everything in between. We're gonna do a live podcast from the event. We want to bring people in, whether it's fans, whether it's talent, whether it's you. We just want to bring people in and kind of document this whole experience. Want to put it on the YouTube, put it on all of our social media. And we're excited too. And we were happy that, you reached out to us to obviously invite us to be included, because for us, it was, it's obviously an honor that we could be a part of this, because we think, we think it's going to be special, and we will also want to make it special on our ends in any way that we can. So we still have some more up our sleeve.
We could turn to an annual thing. It'd be nice. Because my ultimate goal here is, like, I've told other people before, is like, over 25 years of doing conventions for myself on one aspect of it. So this is my first time actually delving into an actual promoter side. I don't want to be the traditional, like, big event or, Legends of the Ring. These are all great shows. I don't want to get like this small little show that's just, here's talent and a few vendors sprinkled in, and that's it. I kind of want to make it more like, maybe not in the first year, but more of a trade show meets Comic Con meets, a CES, E3 meets a Legends of the Ring meets, something like that, kind of thing, where I would love to have Upper Deck have a booth there. I'd love to have Panini have a booth there. I'd love for Ringside Collectibles or, Pro Wrestling Tees or anybody else that has anything to do with wrestling, get one of our cheap booths, cheap plug, and just set up there and introduce and sell to the market, introduce the upcoming products. And that becomes like the place. It's the National, but just wrestling.
Yeah.
And when you told me that,
space for it too.
Right. When you had mentioned that to me, I was like, okay, I'm all in. I think for us too, it's like we don't really fit into that big event kind of world where, like, Danny and I and Papa Bear, we're not on TV, we're not pro wrestlers, so it's like we don't really have a space like that. The National is, a space where it's every hobby, every person, hundreds of thousands of people. It's a big space where wrestling really, I don't think, ever got the love that it deserves in a space like that.
Wait till this year, folks.
Which we're doing our best to do that. But I think so. When you had mentioned it would be like a trade show for all things wrestling, that's when you got, the light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, okay, this is something that we need to be a part of, because we're trying to grow that, aspect too. We're not just, selling stuff on Whatnot or talking about, the newest tops thing or whatever. We're wrestling fans through and through. We collect a little bit of everything where, we love talking to people about, cards and wrestling, and we love introducing people to. So, if somebody's going to come down to your show and they want to meet, some of the talent, or they maybe, they're interested in like the memorabilia or the toys or whatever. We're hoping to be one of the, the card guys down there that, maybe they don't buy anything, but we have a half an hour conversation about where to start buying cards, how to start buying cards, what's grading, what's box breaking, what's whatnot, stuff like that. We really want to be like an informational kind of aspect to the show. And, we're going to be, having some stuff that we could sell to, maybe start someone's collection,
Sure.
or to, enhance someone's collection. We want to do, like Danny said, we're going to do a live show within our own, booth, where someone wants to jump on and talk about their collection for 5 minutes, the mic is yours. We're kind of documenting this entire experience, because that's something that I think too, being a card fan and in, within the hobby, that's one of my favorite things. I love watching these different vlogs from a lot of these YouTubers of, they went to the Dallas card show, or they went to the National or whatever, and watching them interact. And I think that'd be kind of fun for us to do for the wrestling space. So
not to get so off topic from this topic, but like how much like YouTube and, podcasting do you guys listen to?
Oh, I mean, I'm at like 20 or different podcasts at this point. It's bad. It's that's all I really listen to. In terms of like getting entertainment. I work in an office where I'm listening to stuff all day long. I'm in the car. I'm on the train, so I have a lot of time to listen to that stuff. But I love it. I any content I can get and stuff that I'm interested in, I'm all day.
Before the pandemic, with my previous job, I was in the car for 3 to 4 hours a day. So the only way to make time go by was listening to podcasts. So switching over to where I'm at now, working from home, I actually don't listen to podcasts as much as I did. But again, it's consuming. Like I'll come home after, or I'll go to the gym or do whatever, come home. First thing I want to do is go on YouTube and watch one of your videos, or watch, one of my favorite streamers' videos. I'll listen to a podcast as like background noise, and it's a form of entertainment. So like, we know that for our show, we want to bring that entertainment to people that may want to listen to us. Maybe it makes someone's day, the fact that they got to listen to the Card Foundation, and they got, Papa Bear doing a German accent. You got me and Johnny laughing our asses off, and someone enjoyed the show because
that was
of that.
Probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard on your guys' show. Was that whole segment. It was like legit, like you guys were like, it was from the belly, man.
I was belly laughing. Yeah,
it was like it was pretty funny. I gotta be honest. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
I listen to your guys' show.
Appreciate that.
Kind of pretty much all I really listen to when it comes to any podcast. Now, do I listen to because I want to hear like maybe a name drop? Yeah, maybe. But but I'm mostly kind of like listening because like, okay, that's interesting. Like, okay, what's your guys' perspective on this particular car? I'm kind of curious, myself. But I've never been a podcast guy. Like, Zan's my guy. Like I met Zan through this whole thing. I met you guys through this whole thing of this love of what we love from the hobby. It's like that. Like, Zan was the only guy I saw doing a podcast devoted to wrestling cards for the most part. And then I just did it because I've never done this before. This is all new for me, man. Me, it's to get over my fear and be in front of a camera. It's for me to learn how to speak slower because I'm a very fast talker. And then just to kind of like see if there's any interest in this WTC thing in it still. And it turns out like the first episode, like, holy shit, I guess I got to start updating the website now. So I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with some podcasts. I don't listen to a whole lot. Like I've heard sound bites throughout my life, I've been around, but I don't devote any time to doing that. Not for because I can't make time. It's just like, it's not my bag, man. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. For me, it's also like, like you said before, how much time you guys is putting into this. For me, it kind of never ends, because it's like, I'm listening to podcasts all day. So now I'm like, all right, I'm searching on Apple and I see, Brett McGrath, Stacking Slabs podcast. He's talking about wrestling. There's one that I do listen to over here. I take that back. I do listen to a little bit of his. He's got a great show. And it's like, he's talking about wrestling this week. Boom. I want to listen because I'm interested. And also, how could I bring, some of that knowledge to this show? I'll go to a card show on a local card show with 40 vendors on a Saturday afternoon. And it's like, yeah, I'm there, I'm shopping around, I'm doing whatever, but I'm also getting ideas to bring back to our brand and to, I'll call Danny from a show and be like, I saw this guy had this card. I never even thought to go down this space. Let's talk about it next week. Or, it's always, everything's kind of always going back to like the brand. And so for me, it's like, oh, I'm listening to say 10 podcasts this week. Half of it's, yeah, I need to kill some time while I'm at work and, I have free time or whatever. But half of it's like, well, how could all those shows and how are all those brands going to now make our brand better? And how could we grow, from listening to people like that? So I think that's, it's like the job's never really done. You're always kind of working. And I know that you kind of
networking
feel the
is
same way.
Yeah. I mean, networking, I've always been big into networking. That's how, my bread and butter for many years has always been the booking side of conventions like that. And that's always 100% about networking. I don't wait for talent to come to me because who am I? I'm nobody. I got to go out there, hustle, talk to this person, that person, as much as I always tell my wife, as much as I despise people, like she's like, well, you talk to everybody. It's like that. Like, well, I do it so I don't punch them in the face. That's pretty much why I just do it because but I enjoy the aspect of networking. It's like that. You guys present a very flashy show. I mean, for me, there's sound bites, there's the audio bites. There's just so much stuff going on there.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff going there. I would never do that.
It was, I knew I had to find a way to maybe be different because, again, anyone could go on Apple Podcasts right now and listen to any podcast they want. Who are Johnny, Danny, and Papa Bear, and why should I listen to them? Maybe they get a good laugh out of it. Maybe they appreciate, the Rookie Talk segment, and they're learning something about the show. So we knew we had to try to stand out to get people's attention and then to grow from there. So like our viewership, it continues to just increasingly go as we continue each month. Like we're always looking to see how could we top last month's numbers? What can we do to improve the show? So like the soundbite thing was just like, you know what? If I could catch people off guard, like me singing on the show, I think it's funny. I enjoy it. So why not turn it into something? Find a way to spice it up a little bit.
Then tell me about your guys' what is a week's episode? What's the process like? When do you start an episode, doing the homework to the time you record?
So well, since I started, I guess I'll say that it kind of starts with me because I do all the notes. Originally
it was credit for the first 50 episodes.
Originally it was you, and I wanted
you do
to
the production. Come on.
Yeah, and it wasn't 50. I'd say 30 something.
All right, that's fair.
I got a solid 20 show run going right now. But I mean, it starts. So we record either Sunday nights or Monday nights. The process of the notes begins probably the Thursday or so before. As things kind of happen throughout the week, I'm making notes. I have a whole running notebook of just Tops announced this, Upper Deck's doing this, whatever indie cards coming out, I'll make notes of it. I start doing research on your website for Rookie Talk because that's, I'm perusing that website for a good hour or so, just kind of documenting that stuff. And then it's, so that's a couple days before the recording. And then, we'll record either Sunday night, Monday night. That's, we always say, all right, guys, come on. We got work in the morning. Let's do, we got an hour. Hour turns into 4 because it's, we're talking about ideas. We're doing whatever. We're, just BSing. We're showing each other cards and it goes all night. And then it's the social media and all that kind of stuff. Danny does a lot of the Patreon stuff behind the scenes. So he's uploading show notes. He's uploading the episode early for our patrons. We're doing, YouTube videos. We're doing once a month on our Facebook group. We do we call it BYOB, bring your own box.
Saw that.
Where, everyone kind of jumps onto a little call and we just BS about cards for 2 hours. So it's depending on what time of the month it is, there might be a little bit more work one week, but there have been weeks where it's 4 days in a row. We're on Zoom, we're recording, we're putting stuff together, and it's like a second job at this point.
It really is.
Yeah.
These companies do us no favors either. We'll record Sunday or Monday. Sure enough, news from Panini will drop on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Tops will drop something. Upper Deck will drop something. And
it's
we're just
they know, they listen and they're just yep, we're going to fuck with them this week. Because it happens every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. So it's for example, this week, our Patreon episode, it went out early ad free on Tuesday. The main episode will drop Thursday, which is tomorrow from the recording here. And then Panini decides smack in the middle. Yeah, let's just drop our Prism news.
Yeah, it's Prism.
So
Braun Breaker rookie card, boom. And it's boom. Oh my God, we have to wait a week to talk about this?
I know. I hate when, because I'm a one-person operation myself. I do everything on my own. And it's I've had this limitless conversation, roundtable talk that I put off almost a month now, 3 weeks a month. It's coming out finally next week. But like I have to schedule things like, okay, I'm talking to Paul at the end of the month because we have to do our recap. Got to put it in the first week of the new month, talk about the previous month. And it's just there's just a lot involved. And that's why, like, God, those guys, man, they put some cool sound bites and they got this guy. I'm never doing that. I can't do it. I don't have time to do that. I don't have a team.
It's not something that like editing the show takes a lot of time for me to do because I have to listen to literally every second, make sure everything's, if someone says something completely stupid, I got to take it out. If, there's like a long, I'll even go in and like, if there's a long pause, it irritates me. I got to take out the long pause and get it right. So it takes me 2-3 hours to edit the show, but like, I know I want to do it the right way for the people that are listening. Like I think they do appreciate. I mean, the fact that you even brought it up, it tells me that you appreciate hearing some
Oh
of
yes,
those things.
absolutely, I do. Yeah, and I've said over and over again, anytime we talk about Card Foundation, I go, it's the most polished show out there when it comes to the hobby of wrestling cards. To me, and there's not a whole lot of shows out there dealing with just wrestling cards, but there's no way you're getting silver medal. It's gold all the time, buddy.
Well, and the thing is too, it's like we figured, you know what, let's try to make the best show possible for just the card hobby. Not that we're competing against other people, but like, hey, we want maybe someone who collects basketball to listen to us. Maybe they hop in the wrestling card game. Maybe baseball.
Which is going to be happening. That's happening. Right. It's already happening. So AEW has already kind of done that for us, bringing people who've never collected cards before are coming in going, I think they're discovering your guys' show because you guys are so fresh and so new and talk about the modern stuff that people discover you and they're like, they're new to the market. Right. And now because you guys have the baseball backgrounds like that as well, these guys are going to come in that are in other sports when Prism, comes out.
Right. And that's why we try to also like, we'll try to like name drop like things on our episode. So like now we make sure to say Rookie Talk sponsored by WrestlingTradingCards.com because now
I must miss that part.
if we get like people from like the baseball field coming in and now they're listening to our show, so we're one source of information. If we say WrestlingTradingCards.com, that might get the light bulb in their head to say, oh, let me go check this out. Now it's even faster for them to kind of assimilate into the hobby. It benefits you because people deserve to go to your website. It benefits us because people are listening to the show. Let's just try to continue to help everybody out and make it as well-rounded as we can.
That's awesome. And I guess it's, to me, from my understanding, is it's different than other hobbies, as what you keep saying.
Like we'll listen to other shows and it's like, it's how could we, either take things from them that we can incorporate to make us better, or what are they not doing that we know that we should do because it'll benefit the viewer.
True. Very true. So yeah, I learned from your guys' show too, man. Like trying to be better at taking my notes because yes, I did notes, but it may not be professional in a document like that, whatever the hell you guys got.
Well, Johnny's in PR, so he has no choice.
There you go. See, sometimes I wing these things. So I mean, because it's especially if it's a topic that I'm already very well aware of, like when it comes to Fleer stuff, like I can wing that all day.
And it's second nature for you because you've been doing this so long.
Very much. It's just it's very easy to say it. But when I start talking like more modern stuff, I got to have my notes. When Zen and I do our Worlds Collide podcast, I mean that's something that happened because of this hobby. Like he reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to do something jointly together?" Sure, why not? And so we have fun doing that. He's very methodical too. He keeps his notes. And then we just share a Google Drive, and then I got to go like, okay, I got to go talk about our, this is your card segment, and then, it's our question for our next roundtable session. So he's very good about being that, and I know I got to get better at that. So today, like, I got some questions for these guys, man.
Yeah, and no, it's like you said, like in ways that you learn from our show, we absolutely learn from you guys and everyone within this hobby. There's never not enough information. Like you came actually on our BYOB, there was stuff you were talking about with some of the earlier autograph comic images stuff that I had zero idea about. Yeah. And I'm glad that you came on because now the patrons of us that were in that, they learn it too. So it's kind of like, it just makes things so well-rounded. So now like, let's say like the Lita thing, for example, or Sable not, signing their cards. Now our collectors know, hey, if I really want that card, maybe I should take, a rain check on that just to be safe.
Maybe
there's things in general
that in a collection, but I wouldn't go out and buy it.
Right. That's the tricky part. Like we want to continue to educate everyone and you're doing it. So we love working with you guys and other people in the hobby.
Right. And that's why we brought you and Zan into the Facebook group too. Cause it's like, I realize how much of a valuable tool you are. I know the guys that joined our group will too. You know, so it's like we don't
Yeah.
have the answer to everything. Maybe Tony knows, or maybe Zan knows. Let's bring them in, and everyone can kind of, you know, just have one big conversation. And I remember when, you know, you had made your first post in our Facebook group, and there was like, you know, a bunch of comments like, "Oh, Tony's here, you know, let's get into it," you know. And it's like, that's exactly what we wanted. You know, I was like,
it's a great group
perfect.
of people there. It's a very small group, but it's
And,
it's a very good group of
great.
people. Yeah.
Yep.
And honestly,
Great.
that's what we want. You know, we don't need, if it was 10 fellow collectors that just love this like we do, home run for us, you
Yep.
know, because we're gonna have fun. We're just gonna talk about cards. We're gonna help each, like, there was people that were telling me about cards that were on sale that like the person even purchased. So like an example of that, someone found a Roman Reigns auto at a 50 on Mercari for like a steal price. And literally
I heard
posted
that.
in
I
the
heard
group.
that.
And I was like, holy smokes, I got to get that. I really want this. And I grabbed it. Like, that was selfless of him to find that and then post it. Those are the kinds of people like we really want in our group to be a part of.
Yeah, because he could have easily bought that himself and flipped it if he
Easily.
wanted to. And yeah,
Yep.
Right.
it's a great community we have like that. But I appreciate all that you guys do, man. And we're all in it for the same thing. Try to get information out there. Try to educate people. Try to help those find what they're looking for, or help identify what they already have. And it's just I'm always a big believer. There's never no such thing as too much information in this hobby. So if we can archive it someplace, what WTC is all about, to archive it all. Like it's become my hobby. Like that's my new hobby now. Like before it was a lot of work and I burned myself out. That's why in like 2014 we kind of just stopped really. I sat there and we kept paying for it. God knows I kept paying for it monthly for having that website still being put up there.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like came like the perfect time, I think, to kind of really get back into it again.
For sure.
Early last year, and then or actually 2020 actually. Having 2022 already.
And we're in a boom. I don't see this stopping.
No, I don't either.
So it's definitely needed.
No, and I just having to the point where like having UPC codes, put on up there, like, the boxes had this, packs had that. There's variants in different kinds of packs, because guys collect packs. I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
I collected all the different packs that I opened up. So if Comic Images had 3 different types of packs from Superstars, I have all 3 different wrappers, that kind of stuff. Oh, they have a different version of retail. Got to have that too. I collected all that stuff.
For sure.
And it's just important to have. It's long after I'm gone and dead and gone. Hopefully it's a long time from now. Someone's going to want to know information about this stuff from, 50 years ago,
100%.
So that's what WTC is all about.
And it kind of drew my attention originally too, because I'm the same way. I love documenting things. I mean, I think I've said it on the show, but like my entire PC is handwritten in a notebook that I have. Every card, every serial number, every checklist of a product that I want to kind of buy and collect, I handwrite the checklist. And I love that aspect of the hobby. It's like, I love the old guys at the card shows that have their notebooks and they're thumbing through, 1962 tops and seeing what guys they need. And it's on a loose leaf page that looks like it went through hell. And it's like, that's the true hobby. That guy loves the hobby.
Yeah.
And I always loved that. So then when I stumbled on your site, I was like, the footnotes, I was like, oh my God, this is like everything a card nerd would love, and I say that with the utmost,
oh, it's
admiration.
100%. Like my wife calls me the biggest nerd ever. She's like, I'm just so glad you've embraced your nerdism. Like,
No, I
shut
love
up.
I do.
But it's so like all the years of doing conventions, like when I used to work with Leader for a long time, it was so funny to see and so cool when I see somebody walk up and they bring a trading card to have her sign. And it's just like, that's like an open invitation for me. Like, oh, you collect trading cards? Can we talk about wrestling cards like that? Oh, by the way, it's gonna be $40. So you want the combo deal? Okay. And then I turn around like, oh yeah, I collect. You ever heard of WrestlingTradingCards.com? Halftime would be no, halftime be yes. And to the point, sometimes oh yeah, I have my whole checklist right here. Like, holy shit, they printed out the whole checklist, man. They like Chuckster.
Yeah.
He has the old website from Com-Collect. He has it all printed out.
That's awesome.
Because he archives everything. Like the guys like that, we wouldn't be where we're at without guys like him. Because like this set right here, these cards right here that came inside the action figures.
Yes.
From ECW, right? Like, yeah, I have the whole set, but he took the time in his own little handwritten notes. This Justin Credible one right here, those are the same 5 cards in every single Justin Credible set. Like I didn't know that. I thought they would be randomized, right?
Yeah, so did I.
It's the same 5 cards. He has them both in top card is this, then the second card this, third card is this. He hasn't done
That's
like that.
awesome.
Interesting.
I have the checklist to reflect that.
Yep.
information like that is like both cool and important to know for collector. It's like, you don't
100%.
need to buy another Just Incredible figure if you don't want to. If you don't need those cards, go buy.
You'll get duplicates.
You'll get duplicates.
Interesting. I didn't even know that, and I collected the series. So
and so did Chuckster, because I mean, up until a year and a half ago or about a year ago, he had one of the most impressive wrestling figure collections I've ever seen in my life. He showed me pictures, and he had to sell them all. He just like he had it wasn't. They were in a storage unit. The whole storage unit was nothing but his figures.
Oh
wow!
So somebody from the Philly area, like Philadelphia area, came over in a big, huge, like, what kind of event should bring a big vehicle, and brought this gigantic car and filled the whole thing. I mean, filled it to the rim of all of his figures. And I think Cardona and those guys went to that store that has all his figures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm gonna talk to them about that,
because they have Chuckster had one of the most impressive wrestling figure collections I've ever seen in my life. Almost 40 years of collecting.
Wow,
that's really cool.
That's anything and everything.
Because he's a wrestling fan. I mean, a big time wrestling fanatic, and he has everything. So
and you can hear it too. And I've watched a lot of your guys, like the roundtables you guys do on YouTube, and you see it. You hear Chuckster's talking about like the car. He's a true fan. That guy, I
true
love
fan, 100%.
Yep, he really is.
He's my lead archivist now, because before it used to be David Porto, myself, just doing everything. Mostly David at the time, because I just got to the point like, I taught you how to do it. Just leave it alone. I'm just going to kind of oversee things. Right. It just didn't really work out that way, And then now it's like having Chuckster, having Paul, having Armand, having anybody out there who can facilitate information to us, putting on there. It's nice, and it just frees me up. I still do all the back end stuff. So everything has sent to me. I have to still, format it and this, that, and the other kind of thing. But going out and doing all the homework, I don't have to do that very much anymore now. I don't have to scour eBay and other websites and go to card shows all the time like I used to try to find information. These guys who I trust, who know the process, they provide the information. I just now archive it for them. So
teamwork makes the dream work.
It sure does, right? So that's what makes you guys show so successful.
Thank you. We try.
So if it's just you two guys, what the hell does Papa Bear bring to the whole damn thing?
We needed a German-speaking funny man to
you need a German-speaking comedian is what you needed, right?
There you go.
Comic relief.
Well, actually, so Paul had a lot of expertise in the grading game. That's what really brought us to kind of together, was he was helping out Filth Bomb, who is a brake company. They have a store here on Long Island, and he was basically coordinating all of the PSA grading for them. So he was helping us with trends, seeing like just in other sports, like, hey, a lot of people are submitting this in basketball or this in baseball, and we just kind of go back and forth about it. And he's got a lot of knowledge in that field, so like it was something that Johnny and I didn't have. So bringing him into the mix, it absolutely helped the show. And he's a character. He's an entertainer. He that's just who he is. And
one thing I do love,
I
love hearing the banter between the three of you guys like that. Sometimes, Johnny, I'm gonna have to admit, sometimes, Johnny, you're kind of silent in the background sometimes. Like, you sound distant. You sound like you're in the background. Every once in a while, you throw in your stuff like that. And then
he's got a big personality. So sometimes I'm just like, I'm a fan myself. I'm kind of watching. I'm just like laughing to myself, and I'm watching everything kind of happen. And it's a good dynamic. I always said too, it's like, I was like this like very serious hobbyist, part of the hobby, and I take everything very personally and seriously. And Danny was kind of like a little bit less than that, but still on that side. Papa Bear comes in, throws the whole thing for a loop, and he's just like, whatever, this is wrestling cards, who gives a shit, let's talk about whatever. And it's helped me a lot. It's made me a different person within the hobby and collecting and different aspects. I think it's been great. So it's a good dynamic between the three of you guys. You guys each complement each other very well, and you each bring something different to the table. And I think that listeners actually benefit from all that, because it's just one, there's fun involved like that. There's knowledge being provided. And there's just that good banter going back and forth, like just people, because we all have different tastes, and so hearing everything kind of going like, well, I don't think about that, like, whatever, fuck you. It's just it's all, it's fun. It's like three guys hanging out on and just talking about their stuff, and that's just what we just record it. So that's what I love about it, man. So not that people need to know, because they probably do know, but where can everybody find you guys? Danny,
I know I have to do this. So
I hear Danny's realm.
There we go. So we're on Instagram at Card Foundation Pod, and on Twitter at CardFoundPod. Unfortunately, Twitter wouldn't give us Card Foundation Pod, too many letters, so we had to
I feel you on that.
differentiate, and it definitely sucks. But yeah, we're also on YouTube, youtube.com/Card Foundation Pod. Our Patreon, if you want to support us and get into the mix there, join the Facebook group. That's all on patreon.com/Card Foundation Pod as well.
There's
And
some good stuff there, guys, for people who actually collect and like you're looking for something new and unique. So yeah, you guys give away some those cards you guys are putting out are there's some bomb cards, man. Those are nice.
Yeah. So
Thank
and
you.
since,
the living
going
set
on YouTube,
still lives.
That's right.
So yeah, we want.
I saw that. That's awesome.
The living set we stole from them because they said, you know what, it's gonna die, and we said, it's not gonna die.
No, it's not gonna die. Nope.
So yeah, we're keeping it alive. We just got to figure out a name for it, and we got to get you those scans to get on the website.
Well, I need a checklist and all information you give me. You know the routine. So anything you can give me, it's great. I'll get them up there, and for people who want to go get those graded someday, who knows?
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. But that's it, man. So for us, everything's on wrestlingtradingcards.com. You can go to the bottom of the page of any page on the website. I've been keeping a lot of tracking right now. My new thing right now is I just finally installed analytics on there, and I'm blown away by just how detailed analytics works on the back ends like that. Like I'm almost like, oh, so they're in their bedroom checking out my website. I mean, it's almost to that point where I can actually tell.
It's great. It is.
It's just amazing. Like I've already only had it for a week. I just asked my wife before we started jumping on here for a week now, and I've already had I think it's over 6,000 views already in the week.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing to me. And then the countries are everywhere from that's why I think I tweeted it, like from Israel to, I think we had Romania, Australia, UK, obviously US, Canada. It's like at any given time, there's like a dozen people on.
It's funny because it's really funny that you say that, because like a running joke I have with myself is like, obviously you could see like podcast statistics on Chartable. So like they do all the rankings and who's getting downloads in this. So I stumbled upon the country of Qatar, and our podcast is viewed more than Chris Jericho, than Conrad Thompson, than Kurt Angle. And it's the funniest thing that like how our little podcast is ranked higher than like all these wrestlers.
You have to make sure you mention it every single week with every episode. It needs to be put in there.
Shout out to our fans in Qatar.
Yeah, that's right. Whether subtly or just blatantly, just kind of throw it in there, man. You got to work it into the stick.
Yeah, so it's just the fact that like someone in England or Australia just listens to the show is just like, it's humbling, and I could tell you're in the same boat as us.
Yeah, it's I the other night I was like on and I checked the analytics, and it's like it wasn't even a country. It was just somewhere off of like Nigeria that someone was on my website off in the ocean. There's no.
That's crazy.
So in the analytics from Google, you can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in. I can get it right down to the city, right? I mean, the block almost. And I go in, it's like,
I got to be careful.
Middle of the ocean.
I got to be careful. I'm not on your website in like the shower or anything. Like
yeah,
just
you gotta be. You gotta
be able to pinpoint me.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's in his shower. It's great. All right. No, it's not that bad, but it's like I told my wife. She goes, "Oh, you need to do something." I go, "Honey, it's already scary enough as it is. I'm just happy to start gathering data." It's like that,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of
like, why is he looking at Trish Stratus cards in the shower? What is he doing over
exactly?
There? Now you
I
can
don't even know about
it.
that.
It's true.
I don't need to know about that.
It is, and it's extremely humbling. I mean, like I said before, we were packing up Patreon stuff last night, and my wife was helping, and we gave her a couple of addresses to put on envelopes, and one was Japan, a couple Australia, a couple England, and she's like, who do you guys even know over there? Just people we've met. It's like, I say it all the time, like some of these guys in England I talk to more than my friends that live in New York, because it's just all day long we're going about cards, and we're in the Facebook group, and it's I think that's been like the coolest thing, is just like interacting with people all over the country, all over the world, and we're all talking about the same thing that we love.
I can't wait for the day when we can actually all kind of like meet in person.
I know. I can't wait to
be a great photo op for everybody. It's like that. And I'm going to be over in the UK in April. And I know that I can't wait to meet some of the guys out there who've like said, "Hey, when you come out here, I'll buy you a beer." I'm like, I'm happy to take that. Yeah. I'll take that all day.
I always said that too, especially in England. I said my next trip over there, it'll be my first time. And a year ago would have been completely different because now I have all these guys that I have to meet up with and,
Exactly.
and have a beer with and hang out. And it's like a year ago that wasn't even going to happen. So
I was going to go there for
it's
just
so
work,
cool.
work. It's like that. And now I was like, I got to make some time now. I got to go out.
I got some friends over there.
Yeah.
And even not just UK, but it's like it's here too. Like
Yep.
we're looking to meet up with you for the first time, and Zan and some of these other guys that like
you got
we've
to
been
travel to
talking about
Zan
social
because he don't
media.
travel.
Right,
did
we'd have to
find
go to
that
him.
out. Yeah,
but
yep.
That's
is
fine
true.
with me. I don't
Like
mind.
I've known Chuckster now for over almost 20 years because of WTC Collect. So over 20 years. And I got to meet him for the first time last October in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's crazy.
So it was just and how here he is, he's the lead archivist for our website. I'm gonna meet Paul for the first time, from the Price Guide, from Wrestling Card Price Guide at the National. And then he's also going to be at my show,
and us too. You'll probably see. We'll meet for the first time in the National.
The National as well, yeah. So we're trying to set up a little home base while we're there. Like we can all meet, and that's like our desk. For the wrestling. This is our wrestling lounge.
Yep.
You come here. That's where we go. But
and we're not going to shun anyone out. We'll welcome anyone with open arms.
Absolutely, man. So, but this has been fun, man. I'm so happy to have you guys on.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We could talk forever and a half, but I got nothing else, man. Nothing else.
Good to go.
All right, man. And we are out.